Okay, so remember, hydrosphere, all the water on Earth. Biosphere, all the life on Earth. Geosphere, all the rocks on Earth and the Earth itself. Now we're going to move on to the atmosphere, which is all the air on Earth, all the gases that make up the air. Okay, so the atmosphere. The atmosphere, first of all, has lots of layers that we're going to be learning about. You can actually kind of see the atmosphere in these pictures. You can see that the atmosphere isn't like a thin layer. It extends well above the Earth's surface. You can kind of see it here. And then there's really cool things that can happen in the atmosphere, such as the northern lights or the aurora borealis that we'll read a little bit about. The atmosphere is fascinating. So, first of all, the atmosphere is all the air surrounding the Earth. And this extends about 6,000 miles from the surface of the Earth. So you can see, here's the surface of the Earth, and the atmosphere extends up about 6,000 miles. It's huge. Atmo means air, and an aerologist is a scientist that studies the atmosphere. Okay, so atmosphere is the air sphere. Let's see what else. Here are some key things to know about the atmosphere. All weather takes place in the atmosphere. Hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, all that stuff happens in the atmosphere. The atmosphere does something also that's really important is it blocks harmful radiation from the sun, but it lets in light and heat. Right? If it wasn't for the atmosphere, solar radiation would burn up the whole earth. It would burn up all the living things. Nothing could survive with that harmful radiation. But the atmosphere blocks that, but at the same time it lets in heat and light. So the atmosphere is kind of like this gatekeeper for our planet. Another key thing the atmosphere does is it burns up asteroids. Right? You ever seen a shooting star? That's a piece of debris coming from space that's burning up in the atmosphere. So thank goodness for the atmosphere. Otherwise, we'd be getting hit by asteroids all the time. The atmosphere also keeps in heat. It's what keeps the Earth warm, especially at night when there's no sunlight coming in to warm the Earth. The Earth stays warm because of the atmosphere. It's like this giant blanket that surrounds the Earth. And when the atmosphere rotates, when air rotates around, that's called wind, right? So wind is really just the atmosphere kind of moving around. Now, the atmosphere is all the air on Earth, right? But what is air? Well, air is invisible, it's tasteless, it's scent free, right? It has no smell. It's pretty much invisible. And the atmosphere, or sorry, air is actually made of different gases. You'd think that air is mostly oxygen, right? But it's not. It's actually mostly nitrogen. It's 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 1% argon, which is another gas, about 0.4% carbon dioxide, and then some small amounts of other gases, including water vapor. Oops, that's a typo. Including water vapor. Okay, so here you can see a pie chart, and you can see the vast majority of the atmosphere is made of nitrogen. The next biggest chunk is the oxygen. Here's some water vapor, and then you've got, a small sliver of other gases. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about the atmosphere, you're going to be working on the Jamboard again, right? You're going to go back into your Earth systems at Geo and Atmo Jamboard. And you already, in the last section, you labeled some parts of the geosphere. Now you're going to label some parts of the atmosphere. You're going to take your purple sticky notes now, and let's see, what here is the atmosphere? Well, I see some wind, right? So wind is definitely a part of the atmosphere. And I could go ahead and I can color that in red. So here's some wind. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. What else is the atmosphere? Well, it's kind of hard on this point, but I mean, the atmosphere is pretty much anything that's going on in the sky, right? So I'm sure there's different types of gases in the atmosphere. There's people breathing in and out. There's plants breathing in and out. So don't forget any of that stuff. Okay, go ahead and complete your atmosphere section of the Jamboard, and then I'll see you back in the meet in a little bit.